Hi everybody, thanks for staying with us. Time to turn our attention to footy. What happens to a footballer after he finishes his career? Is it all over? What do they do? We've seen a lot of sports people in the last couple of years struggling with life after sport. Been very fortunate to be joined by Brett Ebert, of course, champion power footballer, retired at the end of last season. Had a terrific career, 166 games with the Power, and the CEO of the Australian Institute of Fitness, Brett Hopkins, joins me in the studio. Thanks for your time, fellas. Perhaps we'll start with you, Ebo. Nearly a year out of the game. How's it been?
It's been good. It's been a great experience. Obviously, you know, the pressures of football and the day-to-day running of football, and to have a bit of time to myself and reflect on 11 good years of footy.
All right, you had a long time in footy. I mean, the Magarey medal, of course, then the father-son rule before that. Started your first game 2004. We just go back on your footy career just for a moment. I'm not ignoring you, Brett.
No, perfect. I'm interested.
So we'll get to you. Can you remember your first game, round 2 against West Coast? 39,000 people there. I reckon it was a 3-point win by Power. What can you remember about your first game?
I do remember it. Yeah, obviously it's great to obviously play your first game, and I would love to have played it at home, but to go over to West Coast and have a win over there. I remember it was Chad's 100th game, so we celebrated after the game, and the noise of the crowd, probably 20 seconds before the siren went, you know, they were really loud, and to get the win was awesome, and yeah, it was good to have a win for my first game. All
right, you play your first game, and as a youngster, you never think footy's going to end. You know, I'm always going to play footy. Footy will look after me. 2013, it does come to an end. I mean, it was close. 2010, did you do an ACL?
Yeah.
Did you think it was at an end then? Was it 2010? You thought it might have been close?
Yeah, there was a couple close years there. I wasn't sure it was going to happen, but you know, had a pretty good off season then, and worked hard, got my knees strong again, and yeah, managed to play a couple more years after that, which was a bonus.
All right. When did the coin drop for you that there's got to be something after footy? Because they say the average time for a footballer in the AIF is 2 to 3 years. You were exceptional to be able to go 10. When did the coin drop that I need to study? There's got to be something after football.
Yeah, obviously probably mum and dad were the main instigators there.
I can believe your mum, your dad question.
Yeah. I did pretty well in year 12 and managed to get into a sports science degree. So I did 12 years, sounds funny. 9 years actually in there, and had 3 years off. So probably my whole footy career I had it planned that, you know, there's life after football, and you never know when footy was going to end with your form or with an injury. So yeah, I had it in the back of my mind the whole time, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
All right, so you're enrolled now in the Australian Institute of Fitness. Let me come to you for a minute.
Sure.
Hoppo, we'll call you Hoppo. That's the nickname.
Definitely.
How many players now? Let's just focus on the AFL for a minute. I know there's other sports. We'll come back to the basketball and the soccer. Are there more players now in the AFL starting to kick in to your line of work, recognising they need to have something after footy?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Nationally, it's huge with a lot of clubs, but particularly if you look at Port and the Crows, we had a lot of guys that come on campus, but also the opportunity to do it online to support their careers. So, yeah, quite a few.
All right, it's a tough thing to be a full-time athlete and study. I mean, Brett touched on it, took him 9 years. I know Andrew Gaze took 15 years to get a teaching degree, and he had a bit of help along the way. But how do you handle that with the full-time athlete?
Yeah, sure. So if we get the athlete, we work really well with the club when we look at their commitments and really how much time they can actually allocate towards the training. And at that stage, we sort of help them and guide them. We also know the experience, and I'm sure Brett can talk about that too, what they go through with pre-season and off-season and all their own training. They actually make fantastic personal trainers already. So we look at the skills that we can transfer across so they can implement that into their career. So.
Is that a fair call? I mean, do you find that a lot of the skills that you've developed as a footballer do transfer over into that course?
Yeah, definitely. It's probably something you don't actually think about. You're actually performing it on game day, training. Then you have your corporate training sessions, your coaching clinics. There's just so much that you actually cover when you're playing football that you probably didn't realise. So, yeah, being involved with the course and finding out some of that stuff, and then probably improving and enhancing that skills. Yeah, something I've enjoyed.
All right, I was talking to you before we came onto the set, and I've talked to plenty of the blokes you played with. Most players hate team meetings, you know, that they're overdone. I think you said in retiring that's the one thing you won't miss. Not having the meetings and studying, is there a parallel?
Yeah, definitely.
You don't like studying either?
No, obviously, yeah, I enjoyed studying, basically because it related to what I was doing in football, so the sports science part of it I really enjoyed. But in saying that, the meetings have to be there. The game's changed so much, and there's so much more vision to watch, and as a team and individually, and you can see with Port this year it's really paying off. they've all got their iPads. Every single player's got an iPad, and they've got all the vision from their game, from the team, and also from the opposition as well.
All right, Brett was a bit of a prankster when he was with the footy club, and I know there's still a few pranksters down there now.
Sure.
How's that fit into the Australian Institute of Fitness? You guys like a bit of a laugh? I mean, is it all serious, or there's a bit of a laugh in there as well?
Definitely. I mean, the way we do our training is if you're laughing, you're listening, and if you're listening, you're learning. So we definitely make it fun, and it fits in beautifully with that. Have a bit of laughs the way we go, and so that's exactly the way we do our training.
All right, mate, you look like you're still in pretty good nick. Still got the Popeye biceps going all right, mate. And are you still working out a fair bit? I mean, has this course kept you fit, or is it a carryover of football and this course?
Yeah, I had a bit of a break when I finished footy. Obviously, I had a lot of injuries and had a bit of time off, and did a lot of upper body weights, which I hadn't had a chance to do when I was playing. Did a lot of leg weights and wasn't allowed to do a lot of upper body, so been doing that for a few months. And yeah, obviously with the course, learning and practicing with clients and doing some weights myself. Yeah.
Normally as an athlete, when you get injured, you're frustrated by it, but you start to understand what the injury is about. You spend a lot of time with the physios and the trainers and tell you how to rehab it. Has that helped a lot with the course as well? Yeah,
definitely. That's probably one of the main things I've looked at. Probably the last week or so we've been really focusing on that, and just saying where there's an imbalance somewhere, it can transfer to other parts of your body. And I pretty much had that last year with so many different parts of my body getting injured, and also rehabbing all last year and doing a lot of the stuff on my own, which was great as well.
Right, Brett, the Australian Institute of Fitness, not just about the AFL football, as you mentioned before. There's 36ers in there. There's
Definitely.
Adelaide United guys sitting in there. Is the industry demanding more of those types of people?
I don't think so. I just think they've got the skill set that's transferable into that career. It definitely helps that they're committed, they've got the background knowledge, and if we can help them to tease that out, they make great personal trainers. But it's definitely not a necessity. But it just supports their career and where they're heading.
All right, I'm sitting at home, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, gee, Brett Ebert's really good. He's done that.
Sure.
We're talking about that. How do I get involved? How does someone contact you or go to a website?
Yep.
How do we find out about the Australian Institute of Fitness?
Sure. Well, the easiest way is www.fitness.edu.au. It's a simple way, making sure, I guess the key thing is if they're passionate about it, they're the current members of clubs, or they really want to give back to the sport that they currently work in. That's probably the key indicator,
right.
And see whether it's for them.
Could you see yourself going back to footy, Brett? I mean, you talked over here, you might start your own business. Could you eventually evolve back into being, could you be the next guru in the AFL fitness-wise, mate, or that doesn't interest you at the moment?
Probably not at the moment. I've still got a little bit of an interest with the sporting side of things, but probably mainly working with people probably not quite as educated as myself with sport-related things. So just your general day-to-day client. Just to get back to some basic stuff and hopefully build myself up from that and see how we go.
When you look at the American society, they're saying they're borderline obese now on numbers, and it's a concern that it's happening here in Australia. I mean, you've always been around elite athletes. Do you find now that you've had a year away from that, you tend to notice people more, that they're out of shape, or do you notice it less?
It's probably a frustrating...
Without offending anyone.
It's probably a frustrating thing.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of corporate training over the last 6 months, and a lot of them are really motivated and really want to work hard, but you get the occasional one that might not want to do what you say, and just being involved in that elite sporting club sort of probably changed my I really passionate and stuff like that. So that's probably something I can give to clients and looking to do in the future.
I'm interested in that a little bit, Brett. I mean, how do you instruct that? Because elite athletes like Brett, they're used to work. Everyone around them is highly motivated.
Sure. And
now they're going to an environment where, and Brett touched on, there's a percentage that are, and the percentage that aren't, and the aren'ts are the really frustrating ones. How do you counsel guys to be able to deal with that? Because that's totally foreign to them. Yeah,
sure. I think it's sort of, you pull it right back and talk about the person individually, and everyone has different motivators. I'm sure when Brett runs out on the footy field, he's got his certain motivation. And we're sort of unpicking that and working out what's important to the person. So we'd train Brett and say, okay, I know footy's important to him, but really find out from that client, what is it that drives them? And once you unpick that and really find the why, why they're doing what they're doing or why they got to where they are, that's where the key is, and that's what we try and break it down to.
Have you ever tried to unpick it for you, Brett? Have you ever tried to unpick why you were so motivated?
I think it was the group training. Probably on my own pre-season in the 8-week break.
That's tough.
I probably wasn't as motivated, but you know, a lot of training with my cousin Brad up the river. We did a fair bit together, and
You called it training, did you?
yeah,
Right.
a couple of beers and a bit of training.
Bicep curls.
Yeah, but it
So
was
the left biceps a little bit bigger.
definitely
than the right,
definitely that group training I really like. Yeah, my mum's involved with Step Into Life, which is an Australian-wide company, and she loves it. And yeah, that's just something for all ages. So yeah, something with that sort of group training, I think I'll definitely enjoy, as I used to do as well with the group.
What about the cycling side of things? You know, because you do a lot as a footballer. You have
Yeah.
a sister that was massive in cycling.
Yep.
That followed into some of the programs that you'd put in place?
There'll be bits and pieces about it. I haven't been on a bike for a while. We years back that was our favourite thing. Watch the Tour de France, and then
Yep.
I remember we had the Mad Monday, and then Tuesday we'd go for a ride with Treaders and a couple of the boys. So I really enjoy that, and that's probably something you could bring into the program as well.
All right, in closing, mate, you've had a year off from footy. Some guys never go back to footy. Then a year or two out, they get the feeling they might want to coach juniors. Kids are probably a little bit too far away just yet. Have you had that inkling that you might go back in some capacity somewhere in the footy world and still have your Australian Institute of Fitness business going over there?
Well, actually, last year I did my level 2 coaching through the AFL, so I was coaching the under-13s Magpies
Yep.
development squad, and absolutely loved it. So maybe something with the juniors, see how we go there. I enjoy footy, but yeah, I like watching it, and I like the junior level side of things. Yeah, the serious part's a bit full on for me.
All right, just
but you never know.
When do you finish? How long before your course is finished?
Hopefully next week.
All right, in the next couple of weeks, he's going to look to open up his own business. If you want to get into shape and you need to get it done quick, Brett Ebert's your man. If you're sitting at home saying, I need to study, I need to do something, Australian Institute of Fitness, get on the net, find them, get yourself into shape. We'll take a break. Stay with us. Still plenty to come. Thanks for joining me. I've just wandered into Brighton Tackle and Bait. The owner, Pete, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Phil.
Good to see you, mate. Now, we're just going to talk a little bit about fishing, mate. Down here at Brighton at the moment, best place to go? Mum and the kids.
Brighton jetty's always a popular spot. Species running at the moment being tommies, mullet and squid.
Mate, early morning, late night.
Oh, look, I'm a great one for just going whenever you can go, Phil.
But you know how it is, you sit at home, you sit home with Dad and you look at the guide times and this and coming and that and coming. Does it make that much difference?
Look, first thing in the morning, late in the evening, always your two best times to fish.
All right, but you said it before, any time's a good time to go with the
Anytime's
kids?
a good time to go fishing.
All right, on the top or on the bottom, now I grabbed a couple of these as I walked through, mate. The Tommy float. Tell me a little bit about that.
This rig's set up for more your windy conditions, right? So we need a little bit of weight in it. I've got 2 size 10 long shank hooks and a little weight just to keep it under the water. All right.
On top or down the bottom? There's always that
Yeah,
argument, should I be on the top or on the bottom?
For Tommies, you can do both.
Yep.
All right.
Gar
So,
on the top?
Gar on the top, exactly.
All right, what about this one, mate? The mullet. The mullet running at the moment?
Mullet are running. This one I've changed it a little bit to a spring sinker so that you can put the burley in the spring sinker. Right, that'll bring all the fish towards you. I've got 3 size 8 hooks. In the shallows, the shallow end of the jetty. Only about a metre of water, metre and a half of water.
All right, mate, now if I walk down here to 535 Brighton Road, I come into the Brighton Bait and Tackle and say, well, what bait do I need?
For these species, you can get away with maggots. We also have mullet mix, which has got our own secret little recipes in.
Don't give it away on the show, mate. Don't give that away. Yep.
For your squid jags, I've got a huge selection of squid jags. Duo, which is obviously the t-shirt I'm wearing, do a great brand. They're heavy, you can cast them a long way.
There's a question mark over the bloke that represents them, though, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff
we might
itself's
get to
pretty
that
good.
later on.
All right. Mate, now, you said the salmon were running. We had a quick chat before I came in. It starts to get heavy. Sinkers start to get a bit of weight in.
A lot of the salmon fishing is done in heavy weather, when the winds are a little bit rough. We've got our own Port Nalunga jetty rig, where we can put a little pilchard on it, or whitebait. When it's blowing 20 knots, is a good time to be on the jetty. That's for your hardy fishermen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about if I'm going off the beach? If I'm, they head down to Waipinga or something like that and I'm off the sand?
Waipinga lures are extremely popular. Duo also do a lovely brand of salmon lures. Bait, pilchards, cockles, that sort of stuff.
All right, so again, mate, I've walked in, I've got nothing. I know nothing. The single mum comes in, dad comes in, they've always done it with their dads before. Or the dad comes in, what kind of rod, what size rod would I need to get off Brighton Jetty and maybe be a chance?
Brighton jetty, you're looking more at about a 7-8 foot rod. If you're going to go off the beach down at Waipinga where you've got to cast a long way, then a 9-foot rod. All right. Traditionally, it used to be a 10, 12 footer. These days we recommend just slightly smaller, 35, 40 gram lures. It's an easy way to go.
All right. How much do I need to spend? I want to get my kids started. I want to join in myself. Down to Brighton, tackle and bait because you're going to get a good deal. What would it cost me to get started?
To get started, really you could do it for under $100.
Just pretty cheap.
That is pretty cheap, and anywhere up from there. With some of this latest gear that we've got, with graphite rods, Shimano reels, Daiwa reels, you can spend upwards of $400 or $500.
All right. If you're thinking of going fishing or you need some gear, get down. Brighton Tackle and Bait's the place to get all your gear. We're just showing you a little bit here in the background, but I can tell you there's another section, everything you need to fish, and this is the place to go.